I have 5:30. Everybody can stand for one immediately. Let Diane do this off.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everybody for coming. Next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. You got a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Dan, seconded by Mel. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of October regular meeting minutes. Need a motion for that. I'll make
that one.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Approval to pay the bills?
Can we have a discussion?
Yeah.
Upon looking at stuff, there's like on the checking statement page,
Yep.
it doesn't really give any information. There'll be like, the same charge to the same person, but can there not be like for an address, if it's a zoning thing, like put the address there? Or if it's auto repairs, put the year of the auto, so we at least need.
Like more filters?
Yeah.
Sure, we could try that. I've never messed around with filters, but we can try.
Okay. Just a little more information, be more transparent.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Anything else on that, Diane?
No.
Anybody else? Somebody wanna make a motion?
I'll make.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Fenner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
And Mr. Wagner?
Yes. Okay, old business, JPR water project update.
Hey, good to see you all. Some of you are new faces, so just to introduce myself, I'm Ken Jones. I'm president of JPR. Been working on this water project for a couple of years now. I've got an update for you, very brief memo, and it also provides a real broad overview of the project and what the project will include. And then we can certainly answer any questions. I have with me one of the project managers, engineer, Jenny Fogelsong, sitting right here. And then also tonight, the gentleman from Baker Tilly are here with us, in case you have questions relative to the fiscal model for this project. That's Sam Barna against the wall and Tyler Kaufman sitting with them. So briefly, I also had some graphic for you. I'll tell you what I think I'm gonna have the engineer do is we're gonna mount these on the next size larger and bring them here to the Village Hall and leave them, so that anybody that wants to come in and put those over, if you happy to do that. So, sorry, I'm gonna kind of spread these out a little bit. And then I'll leave these for you to look at if you need to. Yep.
Project North.
Yep. Project North is this way.
Yep.
Yep. And you're looking the right direction. So this first map here is a representation of the existing system. And the reason we brought this isn't from our records, this is from your records, but the reason we brought this is it's important for you to know, if you're new to this project, the condition of the system and the age of the system, and both are kind of overlapping and related. But we here in the village of White Pigeon, we have a water main pipe that dates to 1931, and that's the oldest, right up to the newest, which was in 2015. So, and the thing that we want to make sure that you understand is that, and that doesn't include the most recent improvements on US 12. But what's happened over time, in case you haven't been briefed on this completely as council members, is that the system has been basically used until it's used up. We have a epidemic of main breaks that continues to happen. I think we had one recently had to be dealt with. That's a system interruption, so we have a reliability issue. And then we've also developed a condition within the pipe that we are not going to be able to overcome. And that is a result of water wells and pipe material being incompatible, the water coming out of the wells, actually specifically one well. Right now you have 3 wells in the well field. One is deep, the other 2 are in a shallower aquifer. The 2 in the shallower aquifer are delivering good quality water to the system. The one in the low aquifer has been the problem. It is delivering a mineral to the system that is really incompatible with the pipe. And it also has proven to be incompatible with your metering system.
What is the mineral?
It's manganese. And so what's happened over time, if you haven't been a part of this or seen some of the results of what the staff has had to work with, is that material is accumulating inside of your mains, which, by the way, up until recently, probably, we're still fighting with a lot of mains that are undersized. And so what this mineral is doing and reacting to is it's actually building up inside the pipe, making the opening in the pipe smaller and smaller over time. And that is restricting the flow and restricting the delivery, the ability to do anything with firefighting and so on and so forth. That's also occurring in the service leads to the homes. And if you haven't had that condition at your home yet, you may have a neighbor that may have, where the service lead itself has closed down almost completely from that accumulation of mineral.
Does that affect the pressure, amount of pressure?
That pressure and delivery, yep.
Okay.
So the other thing that and more recently, within the last couple of years, since we completed the main along US 12, one of the conditions that manifested was discoloration. And the discoloration probably hadn't occurred at the level that it is now because of the fact that as we came out of that project, the Eagle, our regulatory agency that oversees the water system, required that we begin to chlorinate full time. And that led to another reaction in the pipe that's breaking some of that material loose, allowing it to flow through the pipe, and that's what you're seeing is a discoloration. Keep in mind, and I would want to make sure you understand that none of that is harmful from a health standpoint, it's just unpleasant to look at. And so when this project is completed, the deep well is going to be, and currently it's not being used only for makeup water when the system requires it. But the deep well is going to be taken offline. We're drilling a new well. We're moving equipment from one well to the other and trying to improve our capacity for pumping supply. We're also going to clean the tank, and then of course all of the new mains that we're going to be installing. The old mains are coming off of service. They'll be abandoned in place. The new mains will be built. And by the way, the new mains will not be the same material that currently exists in the system. It'll all be C900 PVC, which will not have any reaction. It doesn't matter what kind of mineral you put in the water, there won't be a reaction there that will cause the pipe to close up again. So the other thing that we're doing in the new system is we're upsizing almost every main. Right now, the ability for the fire department to actually rely on the system for firefighting is really limited. We're hoping to improve that. We're adding hydrants at the appropriate isolation every 500 feet. Most fire trucks carry the ability to reach 250 feet with a fire hose. So those hydrants will all be within 500 feet of each other. The mains that are going to be delivering water to the hydrants are all going to be upsized and be very, very, very reliable going forward. The other thing that we won't have is, operation staff having to fix broken mains in the middle of the winter and freezing weather, and having interruptions for homes and customers and businesses. So what it boils down to is that, and believe me, those of you that are new to the council who haven't heard this story before, the condition isn't uncommon. And as a matter of fact, it's probably more common than I wish it would be for a lot of communities that we work with. We're doing a similar project in Bristol right now, and it seems like we're always coming back to this, where the operating authority, in this case would be the village council, did their very best to try to extend the interval between rate increases for so long and keep rates at the lowest level they could possibly keep them. I think out of concern for the residents, obviously. And now we're paying the piper because we didn't reinvest, and we waited until we are at critical mass here before we took action. And I'm sorry to bring this news to you, but the thing that is very true about this is we're seeing a climate in the municipal utility construction industry that we've never seen before, where over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen inflation hit the heavy construction industry harder than it hit even what you're seeing at your grocery store. And maybe at some points we were looking at 8 or 9% inflation that, in our daily lives, we are experiencing 25 to 30% inflation in the heavy construction industry. And that's hitting this project significantly. So this is what I would consider to be a wholesale replacement of the village's water system. And I can tell you that of all the years I've been doing this work, I don't think I've seen one as extensive as this. Sure, we build projects with a lot higher value, but they're usually comparative to the community size we're working with. So here you have a small community, a relatively small group of customers, and a need to basically replace your entire water system. So this map right here, if you get a chance to look at it,
Wow.
shows the extent of all of the replacements. And this project right now is hovering in the $12 million range, and I don't care who you are, that's a big project. And it's gonna result in some significant impact to your ratepayers, and there's basically hardly any way we can avoid that. We are doing our best to bring the best funding resource to the table that we can muster, in this case, through the USDA Rural Development Program. We're seeing they're helping the village out with a very low interest rate for a very long period of time. I believe it's at 2%.
2.25, yeah.
2.25.
Or 2.125, my
Yeah.
apologies.
And over a 40-year period, and that is really helping to control the cost of the project and what has to be passed on to the ratepayer. And it's a very good program, and it's meant for communities like this, and it's meant to overcome problems like this. But there's and I would say their version of subsidization at this point in time in history is long-term, low-interest loan. As much as we believe that the village would be responsible for, or would qualify for additional subsidization in the way of grant, your income doesn't lead us to that, although you are a challenged community relative to what this is doing to your rates. We can't deliver a grant for this, at least not through that program. We are continuing to seek out assistance outside of the program, and in this case, really the only thing that we have a hope of getting attention on would be through the potential for congressionally directed spending, and that is really a long shot. We're pursuing it anyway. We applied for it last year. We're gonna continue to do that, this year with your federal legislators to see if they can bring any assistance to the table. Typically, that won't be a huge game changer, but it'll, you know, if we are able to get their attention and get them to react, then, you know, it could provide some benefit. So this memo right here kind of outlines, by the way, this could be handed out for as many people as want it. I don't need that whole. So the project scope, starting from the top, replacement, 85% of the village's water system, and 80% of the individual user connections. One of the things that we're subject to currently, and this is a federal mandate, is that anytime we replace water main, we have to go and replace any private, or actually part of it, public and private service lead from the main to the meter. Any part of that includes a lead or galvanized pipe requires us to replace all of it from the main all the way to the meter. And so 80% of the individual user connections are included in this project. Now, we were able to get some grant funds for that, and I'll lay that out here for you in a second. And so we're able to buy down the cost of that to a certain level, but it's not gonna close that gap completely. We will still have service leads we'll have to fund within our project. The well field, again, we're retiring one well, adding a new well, and making sure that we continue to maintain what we call the firm well supply, which means Chad has to be able to operate the system with his largest well out of service. And that is a continuous, reliable delivery of water to every customer. And so we have to, we're gonna accomplish that in this project. We are gonna service the elevated water tower. It's a little past due, so that'll be cleaned and serviced and put and kept in service for the duration. As I mentioned, the age of the network is you know, getting not far off from being 100 years old. So you've done your very best of squeezing every bit of value out of the system as you could possibly hope for. And again, don't feel like you're the only one that's dealing with this, because there's a lot of other communities that are having to do something similar. Funding, as I mentioned, the USDA loan that the folks from Baker Tilly are including in their rate model. And then we did receive $1.2 million in grant from the State Revolving Loan Fund program for the lead service lead replacement portion of the project, for at least part of it. That part of that money has been applied to the main replacement work along US 12 over the last couple of years, and the rest of it will be applied in this project going forward. The Baker Tilly is helping us close the gap. Right now, we are estimating the cost of that gap for the service lead replacement to be around $650,000. Once the project goes forward, it's possible that number may grow. And because there's only one way to know exactly what those service leads look like, that's to, actually get out there and complete the work. So it could go down too, but it could also go up. And I'll let Sam or Tyler give you a little bit more information on how that plan is going to be taken care of. And then, I don't know if you're all aware of this or not, but recently, the Department of Great Lakes and Environmental discovered a PFAS contamination in White Pigeon Township, southwest of the village. And they spent a couple of years evaluating that, deciding how it was going to be dealt with. And they came back to the village and said, we will provide a grant to the village to extend the village water system into that area if you can bring 50% of those property owners to the table committing to a connection. And we were able to barely get that 50% agreeing to that. And so if any of you aren't familiar with what PFAS is, it's basically in almost everything that you can think of in your world today. And it is what they call a forever chemical and contamination that doesn't, there's no way to rid ourselves with it. So all we can do is protect ourselves with it and try to do something better in the future. In this case, I think here recently you may have saw in the paper that it looks like the folks at the state of Michigan are believing that at least some of this contamination came from what is now Ox paperboard from that site. I don't know, that's not for me to decide or even speculate on, but it looks like that's possible. But it doesn't really matter because it's in their wells and we have the ability to help them. And the state of Michigan has provided grant money to build that portion of the project. And that is represented by this area orange right here. And so that's a $3 million grant, and that covers the cost of the planning and the construction, and that project will be bid separately, correct? As a project that will be an extension of the village's system. You have now in place a franchise agreement with the township, which is required before you can serve customers in the township. You have to have completed that, my understanding, that work has been done. And so that's good to go. And the goal is that hopefully every property owner that has a contaminated well down there is going to connect at some point. If they don't connect right away, that doesn't matter. It'll still be there ready for them. The difference is we can get that all done for them now. Later, it could be on them to make that connection. But regardless, we'll make sure that there's a connection point for them, regardless. So and so that'll kind of offset the potential for some health issues relative to that PFAS contamination. So the last paragraph I have here, and I tried to keep this as quick and short as possible so you can ask as many questions. So the impact of ratepayers is pretty well explained there. You know, there's a couple different things that add into that. You know, the village council has already done a rate adjustment in preparation of the project, but it's still got quite a ways to go to get to the point where we can serve 100% of the debt and then operate the system the way it needs to be operated. So I'm going to balance of that over to Sam and let Sam explain to you how Baker Tilly arrived at the rate and what it consists of.
Sure. Thanks, Ken, appreciate it. And, good evening, everyone, again. I'm Sam Marna, again, Baker Tilly. I'm a senior manager with the company. And just going to give you a handout. Hopefully I have enough copies for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Tyler, can I borrow yours? I'm so sorry. I don't think I have enough for everybody, unfortunately.
Here you go.
I'm so sorry.
You can't read.
You can't. I think we're good. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So, I'm not gonna get in the middle of that one right there, so. Just a quick couple pages. I don't want to read to you, but you know, who is Baker Tilly? I know there's several new people obviously on the council, and I just want to give a high-level overview for those of you that may not know, who Baker Tilly is. We're the 10th largest accounting firm in the country. Do municipal advisory work, hence why we're here tonight. And we have 6,700 members, team members across the country. We have 1,800 of those are certified public accountants. We have a little over $1.5 billion in revenue annually. 74 locations across the U.S. There's 600 partners within Baker Tilly. And so it just kind of gives you also a Michigan kind of format. 114 team members within Michigan by itself. 11 of those are partners. And just kind of gives you that general overview of who we are. Okay. I turn the page. This is the team that we have here in Michigan as an example. I have Tyler with me. Tyler's actually out of our Indiana office. He wanted to join me this evening as well. Turn the page here, and the funding sources. So If you turn to page 4, you'll see that this is what Ken was mentioning, the USDA rural development loans here. And as you can see, right there, loans A and B are a total of almost $12 million. Over a 40-year term at 2.125%. So it's a very low interest rate that the USDA is providing White Pigeon to do these projects that, as you've heard, are extraordinarily necessary. What the USDA does not fund, however, is the lead replacements that we were talking about, that Ken was talking about before. That would have to be done by a separate financing mechanism, and a bank RFP is the most likely and the cheapest way to go. We are estimating that you would have to borrow, again, this is an estimate, $650,000. You'd probably need to go for a maximum of 800 just in case the bids come back and they're higher than what's anticipated. So a not to exceed amount of maybe 800,000. But just wanted to show you that 650,000 over 15 years at 6%, and what that would represent in terms of an annual payment for White Pigeon is on the next page, page 5, and I'll kind of go through this for you as well and kind of break out this USDA funding and how much it would cost annually to service that debt, if you will. And as you can see, again, I don't want to read to you, I know that you can all read, but in total for the USDA payments, you're looking at around $488,000 annually, okay? So that's through the USDA. The bank breakout, though, for the bank loan, the RFP, would amount to a separate $70,000 annually over 15 years specifically. So the total debt payment for White Pigeon would be $557,812. So obviously a significant amount of money, as Ken had mentioned, but the need is there. It's definitely something that should be done. If you turn to the next page and you kind of show the impact here on ratepayers here, on the residents of the community, and it's a tough pill, obviously, to swallow here. And you're looking at the debt service charge quarterly is currently $49.17. And again, that's a quarterly amount. With the funding that I just went through as an example, estimated funding on the previous 2 pages, the proposed quarterly amount would go up to $159. So basically $110 quarterly additionally. So it's not a small amount of money, obviously.
On top of the water bill?
Well, that's what it would be. It would go to $159 from the current $49.70.
Why am I seeing post-project rates estimated at $270 per quarter, and now you're seeing $100? Why is there a difference?
Oh, I'm sorry, let's see here.
Right here.
No, yours is separate. Because what he's looking at is different.
My water bill.
Well, the
That's what
four-
it's
the
saying,
four-
there's 2 different.
Yeah, sorry.
$49.17
My water bill
quarterly
this month
debt
is $300.
service. Then you have to add in the consumption.
Yeah.
So he's talking the total bill, you're
Right.
talking
Right.
just the
Take it
debt.
for-
Correct.
So you're seeing the 270 would be the total bill?
Would be the total, yeah, this is just
Based
for
on
the,
consumption?
correct, yeah.
Gotcha, okay, go ahead.
So if you kind of go through this, and I don't want to, again, read to you, you see all the specifics in terms of how much, you know, the detail is around each of the loan payments. But again, you see the difference in the incremental rate compared to what it currently is. We have here a proposed timeline. We did not want to put dates because we know there are several people new on the council, but we wanted to show you kind of what the big ticket items would be in terms of timelines, and what would you be looking at next if you all decided to move forward with this. And so as you can see that there's a notice of intent resolution that would have to be adopted at a regular council meeting. The notice of intent would have to be in a local newspaper, which would start what's called a 45-day referendum period. There would then be a bid opening for the project, for the USDA project, if you will. And then what we have is the 45-day referendum period would end after that. And then as you can see, there's draft requests for proposals sent to the working group for everyone to review. So that would be all of you. Obviously, it would be engineer, obviously Ken and his group, Baker Tilly, your attorney. So everyone would get together and obviously you'd go through everything. And as you can see here, the adopted rate increase would have to be adopted at a regular council meeting. And so, again, I don't want to go through all of them in detail, but those are some of the big things that have to happen in the next couple of weeks if you decided to move forward, which, again, as Ken mentioned, it really is extraordinarily necessary.
What's the reason for a couple weeks? Why is it such a short time?
Well, this has been out there for a while. So in terms of, you have, I think it's a 3-year window with the USDA that you were already given approval. Ken, is that right? You're now as well for 3 years?
Yeah, we're probably looking at a bidding for this project sometime right after the first of the year.
Yeah.
So that means that some of these things have to get taken care of before we get there. So,
The other thing to consider is that the utility has a bond anticipation note outstanding that matures on May 1st. So you have to close on a long-term loan before May 1st to pay off that ban, or you have to pay that with cash on hand. So that's the other thing to consider.
This doesn't include the cost of the roads that are gonna get re-asphalted, so it's not 12 million.
no, it does include it.
It does include that. What about, do we have backflow prevention for the PFAS community?
Every customer that is connected to the system is.
Every customer?
Every customer
Okay.
has backflow prevention.
Other questions? Any other questions that you have for me tonight?
So let's talk about the timeline. So this project has been chugging along, for quite a while. It is in the permitting phase right now. We were waiting for final comments back from Eagle, which we should have here probably later this month or next month.
Hopefully, with all the different.
They've been incredibly slow, and I don't know how to explain that other than to say they're slow. So we should have their comments back, and then the goal would be to put that project, as soon as that permit is issued, or is pending, we would want to put this project out to bid, coordinate that with USDA, put this project out to bid, and get those bids in the door. Now, a couple things that we're gonna be working on, relative to that is, and I think I mentioned this to you, we talked about, we beat around the concept of, is this project, should you do this project in phases, or should you do this all in one? My strong recommendation, to be honest with you, from a cost saving standpoint, is it probably deserves to be one project. And I think, to be honest with you, I think they're, relative to interruptions in service and providing good quality results to your customer, it probably needs to be, we need to continue to think about this as one project, a single project. However, within that project, what we will likely do is break this down into smaller packages, so that when it goes out on the street, we'll probably have maybe as many as 4 bid packages. Of course, the well field and the tower, those are specialty work that's outside of that. But what we'd like to be able to do is to maybe break this down into 4 bid packages and put that out on the street, so we can have some smaller contractors looking at it. So the issue we run into is if we were gonna offer this as only one single $12 million project, it's likely that we would have a very small group of contractors. So, because they have to be able to bond that work. So, and that means they have to have the credit to be able to bond that work. So, if we break it down into smaller pieces, that opens it up to a greater group. Our goal, to be honest with you, and everything we've done over the last couple of years is try to bring as many bidders to the table as possible. We haven't been seeing a great deal of success with that. You know, Jenny bid a project in Bristol last year. We only had 2 bidders on the distribution system and 1 bidder on the water tower. So, and that's a function of the world we live in. So, but our goal is to do everything we can to attract as many competing bidders as possible. And I wish there was a way I could tell you that it would make sense to break this down and do it in multiple years. But obviously, the one thing you gotta think about is, what does inflation do to you if you continue to avoid or delay? And then, the actual, you know, there's costs associated with, every time you bid a project, there's costs associated with that. That will also add up over time. So, you know, and some of those are soft costs, some of those are hard costs. So, but the fact of the matter is, a project of this size will usually get attention, and hopefully we will be able to attract enough bidders from here in Southwest Michigan to you know, really bring some good numbers to the table. So, I really could not stand here tonight and say you could delay this indefinitely without having it impact the cost. I don't see how I could do that. And I wish there was another way to put that to you, but that's the truth of it, so. And one thing, the other thing I should tell you too, the rate impact is hard. I get that. And we've been seeing that across the board, so you're not alone in that. But this is your village, you know, these are your ratepayers. So I get it. And but the one thing I can tell you is that we're seeing this, we're seeing those average rates that we used to think were, you know, high, now being low. And the rate that we're taking you to here is more common in the municipal utility world than it's ever been. And so, and it surprises me. I mean, you know, 15 years ago, I could probably deliver this project for $40 a month, or some crazy number like that. But that's just not possible today, so. And yet again, I'm not standing here wanting to talk you into this. I'm wanting to just give you what I know, what I can tell you from my gut as to what a delay could be.
Could you maybe touch on, so the people up here can be reminded, and then the ones in the audience, about the lead and copper rules that Michigan put in place, that is kind of forcing our hand on some of this?
Yeah.
And their time frame of when it has to be done and
Yeah.
let out of the ground?
Yeah, there is a timeline, whether you have funding or not.
Yeah, has to be out of the ground.
It has to get out of the ground. Do you know what that?
I don't know what the date,
I thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
2030.
2030, yeah, it's out,
Yeah.
it is out there a little bit, yes,
A
but.
little bit, we're,
6
I ain't that far.
Boom, boom, boom.
It's not that far off.
So that's, we don't have a choice.
No.
You know,
Right.
it has to come out of the ground whether we like it or not. That's the,
And the big thing is, if you disturb the main, we have to replace the services.
Mhm.
That is the rule today.
Yeah. So it only makes sense. The last thing I think we'd wanna do is go out there like crazy, change out service leads and not replace the main.
Yeah.
Because then we're just making the problem, we're just kicking the can, you know, and, so, and that is has been across the country, there's been a lot of dialogue, is that an unfunded mandate? Well, in most cases it is. In this case, the community qualified as a community that needed the help, and we actually got that grant. They call it the Booker Grant. We actually were able to pull that in the door in the first project we did along 12. And we used part of that to replace those service leads. The rest of it's gonna be spent in the heart of the village. And then again, with Baker Tilly's help, we're gonna close the gap on the balance of those. So when we're done, you should be 100% compliant, when we're completed. And
Mhm.
you won't have that behind you now, you won't have to worry about that again.
If
So-
we don't get in compliant by the 2030 date, what is gonna happen to us, the state or whoever? Do you know?
Well, I don't know, because I don't think they're expecting anybody to.
No, I know, I'm just,
I don't know what the penalty is, but there probably is one.
Mhm.
You know, I don't really, never heard what the penalty is, other than it's the law and you better do it.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna fall on, you know who here,
mhm.
and he'll go, you have to put him in cuffs and.
I don't think Chad would do well in jail.
So, yeah, it is the obligation, you know, that's the one thing, about municipal utilities. Once you're in that business, you're in it forever.
Yeah.
And no matter what they hand down to you from the federal or state government, you have to deal with it. And then, you know, like this project is being driven forward by a reliability issue. And, you know, where you know, you're obligated as a water provider to your customers to provide reliable, resilient, clean water. You have no choice. There's no choice in it. And so you have to take whatever steps necessary to, again, I don't think anybody sitting at this table is responsible for this. It's just you know, as time went on, you know, I think it just kept, like, we pushed that off for a while. And right or wrong, that's what happened.
So the overall cost of the project, the 12.4, where does the grants and everything, is that including the grants, that's after those are subtracted, or is that the top line and then the grants go
Well,
off after that?
The
reason why I asked the question is because with the shock value of the quarterly bill, that's only if we don't get any of the grants added into it, is that correct?
Well, just to be clear, there's really only one grant involved, actually, one grant that can be spent on this project, and that's the 1.2 million for the service lead. So that doesn't affect the network piping. So that 12 million is above and beyond, you know, you're not gonna get benefit from that grant, only on the service lead component. So, you know, the evaluation that Baker Tilly's done considers the fact that we're getting that grant and it's buying the cost of the project down. If we didn't get that grant, it'd be another $1.3 million higher than it is at 12.
So what about some of these other things that we've been told over the last couple of years? Well, we're applying to this, we're applying to that. What happened with those? I thought we had already gotten approved for a couple, or we were on the road to getting approved for some.
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to. We have, there's very limited resource relative to grants for a project like this. And like I said, the way that USDA is looking at it is their subsidization is their extremely low interest rate. It used to be, at one point in time, we could rely on them for grant to buy down the cost of the project. They're telling us, we don't have that money. We don't have that anymore. Number one, I don't think we've had a farm bill approved since 2018. So that's part of the problem. Maybe that'll get resolved, I don't know. I wouldn't wait for that, though. State revolving loan fund, you don't have enough time on this project to wait for that project, for that set of funding to qualify you. You don't have that time. You will lose ground so fast if you. State revolving loan fund for this project would probably take about 7 or 8 years before we qualify. And then at that point in time, they would evaluate whether you were grant eligible or not. In the first project that we did along US 12, we were not. We basically begged and we got nowhere. And so that was a borrowed money. The other resources that we're looking at right now, the only one that is left to us at this point in time is pursuit of a congressionally directed spending allocation, what you would call earmarks on the federal budget. Yeah, and which is a long shot, but we're gonna try. So, and then, like I said, we were able to pull the Booker grant in to help buy down the cost of the service dues.
Yep.
But
I looked at the quarterly, divide that into the usage of water, it's not that expensive on a gallon basis. We just need to reduce our consumption.
there you go. So that number, I think, considers about 4,500 gallons a month, or 13,500 gallons per quarter.
If you divide 270 into that, it's 2 cents a gallon.
Yeah. So the other thing you could think about, really, right now, most of our customers, most of our clients have moved away from quarterly billing and went to monthly billing. You could provide that option. Everything is done now with computers. You could provide that option, or you could just make the choice. But the other one thing to think about with quarterly billing is, from a cash flow vantage point, it's a little cleaner, and so it helps you manage your cash a little bit better. So, but that's up to you to decide. I wish I had better news that I could give you.
So do I.
Yeah. So, the only good news is that we do have a solution. And I wish I could tell you that you had the benefit of time, where you could push this off. But I'm afraid that that's probably going to be a mistake to think about. It could surprise us. We could see numbers in the infrastructure industry come down, but I'm not relying on that. I'm hopeful, but that's all I could be.
Well, anything else for us?
Nope, that's it.
Any other questions from the council?
So the one thing I just want to clarify with you, and I know that you have a lot of new council members. So right now, from the previous council, we have the authority to proceed. I'm not gonna ask you to get to debate that tonight, but if you decide that there's a different position you want to take, we will need to know as soon as possible, because we need to continue to push forward unless you tell us to stop. Basically, that's what I'm advising you. And again, it wouldn't be my recommendation that you stop. But I'm just a guy. I live over here in Mott. So.
Oh, that's where you're at.
What's that?
I said, oh, that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ken?
Nope, that's it. That's
Anything
it
else
for
from
me.
the council?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and by the way, this is the only time, the opportunity you have for questions. You can call me anytime, you will get answers. So, and you can just get with Lacey, she can give you my email address, and come up and meet with you, whatever you would like me to do, I'm happy to help with that.
I'll second that from a Baker Tilly perspective as well. My contact information is obviously in the packet as well. If you can't get a hold of me, get a hold of Ken and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
As always, the one thing that we recommend is getting paid people out of the room as soon as possible.
Yeah.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question now. After loan is paid off, does that price go down again?
Which price, I'm sorry?
New business, heard an ordinance amendment for
The water
campfires.
bill. 1 second.
One second. Has it been posted?
This one.
So after the loans are all paid off.
Okay.
So it's the same amendments that Bill came up with, that they had already approved the wording on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's just basically it needs to go to the newspaper, and it needs to get posted in the office, and then it's effective
Okay.
after it's published.
And I know this is the first time Diane's seeing this, but you're kind of up to.
Mhm.
That's the next thing that makes sense,
Yes.
right? Are you comfortable with
Yes.
that? No, we can talk about it yesterday or something about it briefly. Does somebody wanna make a motion to adopt this ordinance? Need a second?
I'll just call you.
Roll call this.
Go the other way. Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Ms. Spinner?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
And Mr. Wagner.
Yes. Motion carried. Lacey will pass that on to give to the attorney to start the next step of it. Next up is council committees. Everybody should have this, see what and who, where you are. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, or changes they would rather see? If no questions, I would make a motion to accept this as presented.
I'll second.
Second by Mel. Let's do roll call on this, do real quick.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Spinner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
And Mr. Wagner.
Yes. Motion carried. For that part of the meeting, remember everybody, 3 minute speaking rule, but we're to public comment.
Anybody else, since I'll go.
Go ahead first.
All right. First good thing, I was one of the first people to get signed up for surf. It's all installed. They did a very good job cutting through my yard. Can't even see where they went, and I'm very happy with the service.
That guy back there probably liked hearing that.
Today, this morning, it was down for a little while, but I don't think more than an hour, and when I called the 800 number, it said, we're aware of a problem in the area, and boom, it was done. So that's the good part. The bad part, what we just heard. I know you're all, everybody has to feel like I do. I cannot afford $1,000 for water. I just can't.
Mhm.
So what happens when this all gets done and all of our water bills go up and nobody can afford them? I mean, is the village gonna cut everybody's water off?
There's a chance of it if the water bills don't get paid, they probably
Okay.
won't get shut off, so we'll go on the tax.
But then, when you shut everybody off, and then you have half the population that you planned on having paying these bills,
Mhm.
how are you gonna pay these bills? I don't get this, Jeff. I mean, I know we've been talking about it for years, but it was like, okay, we had a $50 a month or a quarter loan
Mhm.
that we've been paying now for what, 3 years? And then the next phase was gonna go another 50, okay? But now you're talking $279 a quarter?
Mhm.
I can't afford it, and I feel like I'm one of the more wealthy people in the town.
I don't like it either.
So, that's where I'm at.
Well,
I know we don't have much choice.
We totally understand, Bill, and I feel the same way, but what would you have us do? I mean,
I-
there's no easy answer to this.
There
The
isn't, but I
well,
think-
the longer we wait, the more
Right.
that's gonna go up.
But I think we all have to think the reality of what's going to happen. Right now, there's 4 houses in our neighborhood for sale. And I know 2 of them are because of the taxes and the water bill kept going up. So, in my gut feeling, in 5 years, we won't have a white pigeon.
Mhm.
It just won't be here anymore.
See, the part that Ken was talking about where in other municipalities, that amount is normal, but those are also municipalities that have a whole lot more people.
Yeah.
So that frays the cost. We don't have an answer for that. We can't have an answer for that.
No, I know. It makes me sick with our state because they're pushing this on us. And I know there's an awful lot of communities that aren't doing it. They're like, we'll wait till 2030 and see what happens.
But that's
So-
not why we're doing it. We still need.
No, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing the point that we had to do it. I just wanna make sure that everybody on the council understands we're losing more people than we're gaining. I know we're building these apartments. I honestly don't know how they're gonna fill them. Again, I can't afford to go live in those apartments. Anyway, Yeah, like she said, you would have thought if the state was doing this, and especially after Flint, there would be some kind of state funding. And I know that's not your problem, and I know we've tried.
We need to let it get worse so they will help us.
Well, that's the truth, so.
But
so-
then you have every town in the state who wants the same thing, the state just can't afford that. Unless you want your state taxes to go
Yeah, and your
sky high
state,
too.
I mean,
I mean, it's an old situation for
She's
anyone.
still got her time.
No, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
No, that's all right.
them interrupting your time.
That's all right.
I don't like it, I don't, but I don't know what to do, because if we go to the 2030, nobody has been able to say, this is what's gonna happen if you don't meet this, but they'll cut state funding, and I just don't know. It gives me a headache, just
But again,
thinking
like-
about it and everything.
like what Dan said, that's not why we're doing this for the 2030.
It's all
Yeah, but isn't
coincides
it
with
kind
each
of
other
the
though.
understanding of, if we don't do this, an understanding that we can't afford it, you won't have water, right? Like eventually the water's just gonna be done. So, I mean, I get it, I sympathize, like, I mean, no one wants to pay extra for anything. But it's that, or you don't have water, which people probably react quicker with no water compared to their water bills going up.
And bathtubs full of
Correct.
groundwater.
Correct.
So if you divide 12 million by 670 households, it comes out to $1,700 per household.
Mhm.
For what, per year?
No, to pay it. If every household paid, divide 12 million by 670.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, and technically in 40 years, it'd be paid off, so as long as you're around in 40 years, it'd be
I hope everyone in this room is still around.
You're not the paymaker.
Not me, I don't wanna be.
Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
I'm
Go ahead,
done.
Jason.
Just one quick, so, like, when these projects get started, I just took over the supervisor stuff, like, when you guys hire JPR to come out there, do they give you a cap, cause aren't they making like 10% of this project?
Oh, I don't have the thing here, but,
You know, what I mean, wouldn't it start out like in the $5 to $6 million range, and then, I know the cost of everything's went up, I understand that, but is there like any kind of a cap, like when future projects that they could, you know, how much they can make off these projects? I'm
I
asking,
don't have an
I don't
answer
know.
to that question, and I'm gonna write that down so I can find it out though.
Because, I mean, like I said, they're doing the same bidding process of everything, but, you know, 3 times the amount of money that they're, like I said, I'm just asking, I have no, if
I
that's a
know-
possibility when these large projects come up.
And I know part of the reason it went from 6 million, what we were all thinking is, the price of material, which you kinda mentioned that, and then also they had to go through and change some of the piping for some of these neighborhoods that are 3-inch to 4-inch,
Mhm.
and state mandates that it needs to be up to 6-inch or whatever and whatnot, and then the amount of hydrants that need replaced in town
Yeah.
and whatnot, but
I
know they
understand,
don't
like, the material costs and that
double
going
it,
up, like I said, it's, the service, you know, you guys hired for a service,
Mhm.
and then, but their service just keeps going up and up and up and up, because as inflation goes up there, I mean, it's,
Yeah, the
I
bigger
mean, if you were
project
talking a
costs, the
couple
more they
$100
get.
on a project, nobody would say a thing, but when you start getting into that kind of money, I mean,
Double the plugs.
like I said, I don't know if it's possible to do that or not, like I said, that's why I was just sitting there thinking about the math, doing them as it keeps going up and their
Mhm.
part that they're making, if there was any way to, you know, like, put a cap on, you know, that they cannot exceed a certain amount.
Yeah, but for how much and stuff like that, I guess. I'd like to find that out. So, you got anything else, Jason?
No, I'm good.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Does that make sense?
Who's next?
Well, hopefully I'll deliver a little bit of some better news. My name is Jordan Holzrud. I'm from Surf Internet. In the past, we've had folks from our business development team come in and speak to you guys before we start building. I kind of come in as a market manager and deal a little bit more with you guys, the council, Chamber of Commerce, and, you know, sort of that's more of my customer and my side of the house, and really just want to be the face of the company for you guys here locally going forward. We did finish up service on late Halloween night, so even our construction crews trying to get things done before the end of the month, and they pushed it out that night really to get both your guys' serving areas on. So that's 880 sites, that's homes and businesses are available for our service. as of 10/31. We actually have signed up almost 100 people. I'll round it up, it's like 96. With a few pending, and actually we had 37 people sign up on the first day on November 1st. So I've plenty of anxious folks, and that's really, almost over a third signed up on that first date. We're not done building. We're actually looking to edge out in a couple areas, and actually right where we're sitting here right now is not available for our service. That's one of our first priorities, is to get the town buildings on. And really going forward, if there's any construction issues as things start settling through the seasons, to get through the winter, it's hard to think about spring or summer right now next year, but sometimes, you get a few holes around the handholds, and there's some, kind of caving in a little bit. Don't be afraid to reach out, any of the city departments too. We'll come out and fix it.
No, I know after we had a big storm this year, not long after you guys finished up, and there was some pretty big holes. We called, I think KAR, KLF, and they were here pretty quick.
Okay.
You could lose a small child in a couple of
Yeah,
holes.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's sometimes when they go through and they put those cabinets in, they fill in the dirt, but then, a couple weeks later, it can shift tremendously, and especially with the winter coming up here, that'll be, the frost starts next spring. I can leave my card too at the end, and just so you guys have it. Any questions they have for me?
I don't have anybody else from the council. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Paige.
Is there any way when they're going around picking up leaves that you guys can post what street or section you're doing so people can have their stuff out by the road? Like on the Facebook or something?
So I thought about that, and I agree with you. I know 3ers, I don't know how that exactly works, but we're gonna find out, because they do like quadrants, I think, before they start leaves, they're telling people we're gonna be here then, and everything. Right now, the leaf machine is down, but by the end of Friday, it had some bearings go out. By the end of Friday, it will be
Okay.
back up and running.
And then somebody needs to say how close they need to be to the road and not in the road. Because last year I had it in the grass, and then they didn't pick it up because it was too far in. So that's another issue.
I think it's 3 feet, isn't it, Chad?
Yeah, it's posted in the paper that's sent out in the mail, and then we post it on Facebook and stuff too, as much as we can, so.
Okay, and then I know a couple of meetings ago I brought up the house next door to me with that giant crater on the side of the road by the mailboxes. Has anything been done to look into that one? Because like I said, you can see every level of how many roads have been put on top of each other.
How many are there?
I don't know, I haven't counted, because when cars drive down my road, one has to stop because the road is so thin, or they go into somebody's yard, they go off the road.
I just wanted you to tell everybody too.
I can go
like,
count it
how
and
our
let you know tomorrow.
infrastructure is and
But
how
yeah,
our roads are.
you can see every line.
Will you point me on a map
So,
when the meeting's over?
I was just saying, you know where my house is? It's the blue house right next door, right across the street from the alley.
Okay.
Like where that mailbox area is.
It's big. It's on Hodgson right there.
Yeah. It's,
Go past it every day.
No small job.
Don't
Well,
need
that's
that. Wheels and tires are expensive.
that's it.
Anybody else for public comment? Nobody else, okay. We're gonna close public comment and move on to committee reports, please. Chad.
Yearly monitoring schedule's been completed. Lead service line inventory's been completed and turned in. 2 low flows for the month, 1 main break. Put cold patch back in the holes for the main break and the low flows. Well maintenance has been done to 1, 2, and 3. Tower inspection, waiting on the tower inspection to be for a scheduled date for them to be here for that. Trimming trees from the roadway, the edge of the roadway there and the sidewalks. Leaves till the machine went down. Just with the water system, our water system has to make it first. If you guys wanna come see what our water mains look like when we dig them up every day almost, you guys are more than welcome to come see. It's just not our mains, it's our valves. They don't function. You can't open them, you can't close them, they just don't work. Our hydrants are so old that you can't get parts for them. thing I had was mailboxes. Is there any way that, we can change our ordinances for mailboxes, getting them on customer's house instead of to the edge of the roadway, or?
That's a government.
That's, your congressman needs to get involved in that,
They
seriously.
said that, 'cause I know a couple houses in last spring that they told them they had to move it 6 inches this way and
Okay.
2.5 inches up.
Alright.
I think I sold it for my box as well, so.
Don't know what you mean about it. Jeffrey,
Yes, no new business.
first off, congratulations and thank you
Well, thank you.
for being here.
And which committee, cause I lost.
No, you're just, if you've got stuff you wanna bring up,
Oh, okay, no,
or
I'll
whatever.
Okay, if I bring up anything, this, when you're doing this water line and you're gonna do the asphalt roads, at what point do you look at some tree removal, the trees that look like they're gonna be an issue in the next 5-10 years, so not,
I do know that has been,
Okay,
is
okay.
part.
They'll be marked.
Don't you
Well,
touch
she
my
can't do
tree.
it while we're doing the project.
Lacy? Alan?
Well, on the employee committee, there's nothing to go over, but we've started meetings with Mel Hochfeller and Teresa Hackman on marijuana recreational committee, so we've been going over that. We've had 3 different meetings. First meeting, we just sat down and talked about ordinances and tried to figure out where we thought it would be a good spot for the village and how many we were gonna have. The second meeting we had, we brought Doug Kuhlman in with us. So he's our zoning ordinances, and we went over areas that we could locate the facilities. So today we have had another meeting. We still haven't got an ordinance back from our lawyers, which we're waiting for that, but we have sent them what we would like to have in that, but it still has to be tweaked a little bit. Otherwise, that's going pretty good. We're working that out. We're gonna have 2 stores. Our plan for its locations is from 131 down at the river up to the stoplight, and then down US 12 to about Bradley Street.
By the laundromat?
Yeah, well, it's just
No.
past the bowling alley at Bradley
Water
Street.
tower.
Is our locations that we're looking at, and it's gonna keep chugging along.
And you think you might have something next month to go through and,
We gave you guys the ordinance.
I see 2 things I'd like to discuss with the.
Yeah, and afterwards you
Yeah.
bring those to me, and then, cause there is some stuff we've found also that we need to change. Other than that, it's going pretty good, and hopefully on the next council meeting, we'll be able to opt in and go ahead with it.
Planning commission meeting first.
That's on the 16th, there's a planning commission.
Yep.
So,
they're doing a couple things with that, so yeah, our next meeting is December 18th. Anything else?
no.
Bill?
October complaints, we had 201, wrote 19 citations. We had court last month, I think I told you a little bit at that house on Hodgson. They have till December 1st, so I think the council will decide what we're gonna do, because we're not cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
So whether we hire it done, or what you wanna do, if we can do it, you guys, I guess when the time comes, but time's ticking, and I'm thinking that's gonna be a village responsibility.
Well, that was a 6-8 month ordeal.
Yeah.
Yay.
You know the house he's talking about.
Yeah.
And is that just the exterior? Is that exterior only?
Yes.
Does that extend to the garage, or?
No, that's the only.
Okay,
I would
I'll
say
stay
you
right
should
here.
look inside their garage door,
I've driven by there and
right across from elementary
Yeah.
school.
it's-
getting back to small child.
That's been going on since
I had a small child who walked
Another
through.
We got a grant to do Shop with a Cop I just gotta wait on a letter from the IRS, be through Walmart, so plan on doing that sometime in early December. With the school, so that's all I have.
Dan?
My meeting's tomorrow night, so I'll have, by next month, I'll have, the budget things. They're supposed to bring that forward to us tomorrow.
For the ambulance?
For the ambulance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, not till next month, so.
No.
I'm on the committee with Al and Teresa. I have to agree with Al, we're making good strides. I think we're doing the right thing by getting ahead of it. Trying to get everything laid out in advance before everybody gets moved in.
Ken?
Nada.
Okay, the only thing I got, just a couple quick things, is I brought up before, but the 2 parking spots out here on Kalamazoo Street on the northbound and southbound lanes, far north ones, we had briefly talked about removing them. There's a lot of trucks that turn here and they do their best, but accidents can and will happen. I think we need to get rid of them. We don't need to do nothing. We can make that choice right here tonight. I mentioned it to half of you guys here, a lot of people out in the public, and they would agree that they think that's a smart thing to do.
And you're thinking only 2, not the 3?
It'd be just one.
One on each end.
Oh, just one on each side?
That gives
So
them-
we're not gonna have the turn lane?
I don't know if we.
There's not enough room there.
Well, the hair salon uses
No, no. Okay, well, there is room, because if you take out the parking spaces and use that for a turn, because that light is so short. None of you people even wanna use that light. I mean,
We use it for a turn lane now, kinda anyways, right?
But then that's-
if there's no cars parked there.
Right, but if you put a turn lane there, that defeats the purpose, because if a truck needs to turn, then they're blocking the
Oh,
highway.
yeah, they would have to be, no,
Yeah,
because
you
if
can't
you have a
have two
trailer
cars.
and you're in that right lane, then you cut,
That's true. I
yes,
didn't know that.
100%.
But when a truck's making that turn, he's blocking both lanes, which means the guy can go east they make the right-hand turn and go. It's like a football blocker, they block it.
Yeah, if it's the first guy, but the
Yeah.
guys behind him
Yeah, you
have to
gotta-
wait.
you gotta be
I'm
back.
talking
And
about
never
coming-
get through that
heading
lane.
eastbound on 12, going south on Kalamazoo.
Correct.
Oh,
Because that's where he wants to take those spots.
I wanna take them out. I'm
Yeah.
all for taking them out.
But
If you-
he's right.
If people are turning
You
right
can't put
there,
that
you're gonna end up having collisions. So if he's got a semi, it's gonna go straight. You got somebody on the right-hand side that's gonna make a right-hand turn on red. The guy that's going east-west is gonna hit the car turning.
Because
Yeah.
if we take out,
So
if we
there's
take
highway
out
turning in
2,
there.
can we then, when we get the pavement redone, put the stripe and lead the lane toward that,
That's right.
the empty lot side, and give that side more space?
Because I think to actually put a turn lane in, it's gonna create issues, and I think we'd have to get involved with the state then on
Yeah, that's
that.
it.
For the time being, hold on, I can't listen to everybody talk at once.
What?
But for the time being, is that what we wanna do, is get rid of the
Yeah.
far north spots on each side?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, my question is, do you have to put no parking signs up there?
And we will, we've got
Okay,
it.
okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we do that, just so we got kind
I'll
of a
second.
trail of it.
Add that to your list, Chad.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The next thing was, I brought it up a couple times here, but, changing, because we gotta make this, it'll be on next month's agenda to approve the 2025 dates, is moving our meeting time to 6 PM.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
I'm gonna make a motion to change our meeting time to 6 PM.
Starting January or
Starting
December?
January.
Okay.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Oh, and the other things real quick, gonna talk to you afterwards, hopefully, but, it's a nut shop forever here, we all know, won't go on, long story, we can't do nothing with it, but we can do certain things. Like to see something painted on the north side of the building here, a couple people, I think, are willing to put money in it, they've told me, and then I've talked to people about my idea for this, and they have said they will help out one way or another, be it manpower, material, or monetary, is somewhere in the center for the time being, because this can be easily taken out, and it's inexpensive, but is do a 10-12 foot diameter thing of pavers, put a flagpole in the center with, I don't care what flags, United States, Michigan, we can make our own flag up for White Pigeon, and put some solar lights, just to, that property's so bland
Yeah.
and depressing
That
looking.
would be nice.
So maybe, I'm just bringing that up, to keep you thinking, and I'm gonna talk to a couple people at the solicitor I've talked to before about it.
Taking down a couple picnic tables maybe.
Maybe.
It's a long story.
And then
You know what I'm talking about.
one other little thing that, I put on my list every month and then I'm done is the summer cleanups I brought up a couple times about picking a Saturday through the good summer weather and having a list for volunteers to go around to certain properties and help, you know, either be it elderly or people, I don't know, whatever, and clean up their property, you know, maybe do some weed whacking and stuff like that, so keep thinking about that, but that's all I got.
We talked about dumpster at one point too.
And that's on my list too, but we got a budget for that, so
Yeah.
we get through into January, we'll start doing budgeting things. But that is still one thing I wanna do is get a big dumpster for, you know, have it for a Saturday. If you're in the village and you own property in the village, you're allowed to bring however much, you know, we
Other
decide.
than hazardous.
Excuse me, other than hazardous, obviously, but that is all I got. So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn if somebody wants to second it, and hopefully everyone has a good Thanksgiving.
I'll second.
Diane?